Hello, I'm Colby Sutton, and this is my capstone political science project on media impact on recent elections in political history. The main points that I will be talking about today are the shift of importance to media has been affected by political campaign spending. The key voter audiences have been targeted, reflected by spending on ads. The early leads can be determined by spending, and that predictions on who will win based on ad spending alone has been relatively accurate. One of the sources that I used, this source is from a political journal, and it discusses the shift of media and how it impacted political campaigns in different countries. I used it to look at the political campaigns in the US, specifically the 2020 election. This source is a paper from Princeton University discussing how they believe social media impacted the 2012, 2016, and the 2020 elections, comparing demographics of voters and non-voters historically and targeted ads. This source just goes in depth more on the past three U.S. elections, since social media has been adamant and since campaigning has shifted over more to social media. This source is data from every public office in the United States. You can look and see where the money came from and what they spend it on for their campaign. So this shows exactly how much money they spent on social media marketing and other stuff they've spent on their campaigns. This source is data from every federal level election on where money came from and what they spent it on. This is a source from the JFK Library, and it discusses the shift in importance of media and campaigns from JFK to modern day. This source specifically talks about TV and news. This source is important because it shows how prominent social media became since JFK's assassination, especially when campaigning and presidents going out. It's more known where they'll be. This is the U.S. Census and gave me access to data on who voted in elections. I used it to compare the target audiences and see if there was an increase in voter turnout in those areas. So yes, this is from the 2004 Census, the voting registration, and it shows how many people turned out in those areas for the election. This is from the National Library of Medicine and is a study about who uses Facebook and why. I used it to cross-reference with the census and the campaign ads. Sub-arguments. My sub-arguments are that young people hold power, and based on the spending and targeted ads towards that demographic, the political campaign advisors know that. That's basically saying that political campaign advisors know that young people are on social media and are trying to target the younger demographic to make them vote when they're of age for their party. Also, elections can be won with money if you have a decent platform. This shows that campaigners and advisors use a majority of their money from the sources to promote social media, and based on how well you're known around the US and how much you spend on that, shows that you have a higher probability of getting voted for. And early leads and winners can be determined by money spent on ads. Why is this important? This is important because we must be aware of the ads being run. You have power and you must use it wisely. Look at what the figure represents and what their opinions are, not just the ads, but look at the cross-reference. Multiple source to be sure you're not just being swayed by the ads. This just shows to be wary and to be careful because ads are paid for and they are used to make people want stuff and they want you to vote for their certain party. This also can become an issue if historically the person who spends more wins the election. Offices may be won by those who may not have the best intentions. Money should not be able to buy you an office of power. Thank you for watching my presentation.